Now listen up.
Because Insights EDU 2025 is coming, and this is the conference you don't want to miss. Meet us February 12th through 14th in New Orleans for one of our favorite higher education marketing and enrollment management events of the year. Imagine 3 days packed with actionable insights and the latest innovations in higher ed. We're talking top industry experts, real-world case studies, and hands-on workshops designed to help you grow your programs, boost engagement, and elevate your student experience. This is your chance to hear the latest higher ed trends from speakers at Google, Reddit, Meta, MIQ Digital, and schools across the country. Mark your calendars, get your team, and get ready to welcome the era of the modern learner at Insights EDU 2025. Register now at insightsedu.com and secure your spot. We'll see you there.
Attention.
Registration is now open for the Middle States Commission on Higher Education 2024 Annual Conference, Protecting the Future, Champions for Higher Education, December 11th through 13th, 2024 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Don't miss out. Register today at msche.org/annual-conference or head to msche.org and click on the conference link. I'll see you there.
Hey everybody, this is Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the EdUp Experience, and today we are extremely excited to announce our paid subscription service. By subscribing today, you will get exclusive early access to ad-free episodes, extended episodes, bonus episodes, original content. That's right, original content and invites to special events, all while helping to sustain EdUp. To become a subscriber, go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com and subscribe to our free email newsletter to learn how you can get access. Again, go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com.
Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. This is Dr. Joe Salustio back with you on another episode as I have returned recently from Cartagena, Colombia, in my day job role as the Vice President of Industry Engagement at Ellucian. I was able to head to Cartagena and talk to people all across Latin America, colleagues in higher education. And boy, what a passionate group of professionals serving students in that part of the world. And you know what I realized coming off that trip is, boy, are we dealing with the same issues in higher ed, no matter where you are in the world. No matter where you are, students need access. They need affordability. We have to do what we have to do to change the educational model to make higher education more accessible and affordable. Everybody wants it. It's not like parts of the world somebody says, I'm willing to pay more. Everybody wants to pay less, and they want a quality education. That's our charge as educators. And I want to note, in obviously the synergy of my day job and the EdUp Experience, that the EdUp President Series is now powered by Ellucian. So they are behind each episode that we are recording now. Now we'll still take those regular sponsors, so keep your wallets open if you would. But the EdUp Experience is now the President Series powered by Ellucian, and I'm proud that the organization I work for is really a big part and behind the podcast, because we've got great people all across the world to still talk to. This is actually a really cool moment in my podcasting career here, because we have started lots of things. And one of the things that we've started is a subscription service, and it's growing rapidly. Our very first subscriber, and I know this because we see everybody that subscribes, including you, people who have not subscribed. I see you too. But this person was our very first subscriber. He has been one of our biggest supporters through the years of our podcast. He's written editorials and articles for EdUp editorials. He's done it all. And we said, you know what? We got to get him on a microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is. He's Dr. Greg Pillar. He's the Associate Provost for Academic Affairs at Queen's University. How are you, Greg?
I'm doing great, Joe. Thanks. And thank you for having me. It's a true honor.
Well, no, the honor is mine. You've been a great advocate, and I have to say Queen's University of Charlotte. I have to make that clarification. I left that part out. But you've been such a great advocate in helping grow the podcast and listening to it, Greg. And we want to let you know how much we appreciate you. And you're doing great things yourself. You're writing a blog every day. You're writing articles every day. You're studying mergers and acquisitions and closures. How do you do it? Because you're teaching too, and the associate provost means you have faculty.
Yeah, no, I just try to find a good balance. This is something that I've been wanting to do for a while, and it's you just have to make time to do it. So that's what I've done, and thrilled to have these opportunities and to have this outlet.
Well, we're glad to have you here. I think we've got a lot of questions for our guest, and I was just perusing his website before he came on. I was like, oh God, I got like a million questions. I don't know if he's ready, but he looks ready. Doesn't he look ready, Greg?
He looks absolutely ready.
Let's get him in. Ladies and gentlemen, he's the president of NewU University. He's Stratsi Kulinski. I think I got it right. Did I not?
You absolutely did, Joe. This is possibly the best intro that I've received on a podcast or anywhere else. I'm very happy to be here. So, Joe, Greg, thank you for having me today. Stratsi Kulinski, president and founder of NewU University. The accent is originally from Bulgaria. Many people wonder. Polish, Italian, what is it? I came to the US about 25 years ago for graduate school and actually kind of came into higher ed almost by chance about 10 years ago or so. Served as president of my alma mater, the American University in Bulgaria. And then when I came back to the States, really I wanted to do something different, something meaningful, something lasting, and something that helps people. So when people take a look at us, the first thing they see is kind of that banner on our website, not your old university. So definitely,
I mean, it's upside down, isn't it? Not your normal university is actually upside down.
Not entirely. We do a lot of things faster, better, smarter, I think, and that's why it's different. But happy to chat about anything that you guys have in store for me today. And again, looking forward to an engaging conversation.
So the idea, but what's the catalyst that pushed you to create NewU University? I mean, what was the moment when you went, I've got to do this. I've got to found something that's different. And what was the guiding principles, if you were, of the new university?
Well, like everything in life, it's kind of a combination of conviction, timing, and also a fair amount of serendipity. So I spent most of my career in business. I mean, I was in broadcasting and in telecom and in investment banking and Silicon Valley. And then when I did some work in higher education, first as a board member and then as a president of a university, I was really taken aback by how different the kind of the processes, the speed of getting things done, just the everything is from what I used to think is the real world, and it's always a matter of perspective. As you get as much gray hair as I do, you start to think, like, what is my place in the world and what is going to be there after me? So kind of combining those things, really, I saw a big need for improvement and also kind of a great opportunity for some lasting positive change. And so just really looking at the US environment, I mean, when today we have over 1 million students every year who graduate from college, who want to go to college but cannot afford it, plus the people who drop out of college because of the return on investment concerns, avoiding loans, or the affordability crisis. I mean, this is like 1 million students or more every year, kind of getting added to that pool, who are losing on their college dreams and their opportunity for civic engagement and for higher earnings and upward mobility. The team and I really thought to ourselves, I mean, somebody has to do something about that. And there's a lot of talk in higher education about reform and about innovation, and a lot of people actually do mean that, and they try to do that as much as possible. But a legacy institution, an existing kind of incumbent, if you will, is not ideally positioned to do that. And so that's why we decided to start a brand new university from the ground up, so that we can actually put together the design elements, the policies, the procedures, the kind of all the elements that we wanted to put together and see if that really works. And that's exactly what we've done. So now that we have 3 cohorts of students, and actually our first one is scheduled to graduate in just a few months, we also kind of have this claim to fame that we designed the first 3-year bachelor's degree program without summer semesters in a long, long time. I mean, they used to exist and kind of then they went in a different direction. But this day and age, you hear about all the truncated or expedited 3-year programs, and none of those are optimal. Ours is actually 120 credit hours. Students take just the regular 5 classes per semester and no summer semesters, and then still graduate in 3 years. Happy to talk about how we do that. But basically, we've designed a shorter, stunningly affordable undergraduate program that can get people skills-based majors in education and get them to a bachelor's degree in record time and in higher numbers than kind of what we see elsewhere.
Amazing.
Now, during that time that
I
you
love
were
the sound
talking,
effect.
Stratsi, during that time you were talking, you said something, and you said design principles, policies, and procedures. And Greg, who's an associate provost for academic affairs, literally just started salivating because I know he had a bunch of questions about it. He was like, "Ooh, I love policies and procedures." I'm not sure if that's true or not, Greg, but it sure looked like it at the time. So over to you.
Yeah, thank you. I wouldn't say I love policies and procedures, but that did get my mind going. So Stratsi, if you could expand a little bit on, as you're building this university from the ground up, what is that? What are some of the key differences with how you've structured NewU and how you looked and how you operate that is uniquely different, I'm assuming, from other institutions that allow you to achieve your goals and outcomes?
Mark your calendars now for February 12th through 14th, because this is where we welcome the era of the modern learner and the most anticipated higher education marketing and enrollment management conference of the year. We're headed to New Orleans for Insights EDU 2025. This year's event is packed with speakers from companies like Google, Meta, Reddit, and MIQ Digital, and schools across the country. Ready to learn how AI is transforming the marketing landscape and how to adapt your programs to the preferences and demands of the modern learner? Then Insights EDU 2025 is where you need to be. Register now at insightsedu.com.
Attention.
Registration is now open for the Middle States Commission on Higher Education 2024 Annual Conference, Protecting the Future, Champions for Higher Education, December 11th through 13, 2024 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Don't miss out. Register today at msche.org/annual-conference. We'll see you there.
Hey everybody, this is Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the EdUp Experience. Are you enjoying the conversation so far? Good, I hope so. Did you know that you can actually hear this conversation early before anybody else and ad-free, so you don't have to hear my voice during these ads? And did you also know that you could get extended episodes, bonus episodes, original content? That's right, original content and invites to special events, all while helping to sustain EdUp? Well, if you didn't know, now you know. So go to edupexperience.com, that's EDUP experience.com, and become a subscriber today. First, you got to sign up to our free email newsletter, and then you'll find out how to become a subscriber. Again, go to edupexperience.com.
So, great question. I mean, when we looked at kind of the whole thing, there were so many challenges, like from college access to affordability to persistence rates to job placement and underemployment. And we really wanted to design something that effectively addresses a lot of these things, not by putting Band-Aid solutions after the fact, after you identify the problem, but designing policies and procedures, and I hope Greg is happy about that, to actually eliminate some of the risk factors and to improve these outcomes. So on admissions, for example, we threw out everything except high school GPA because we saw it's the best predictor of academic success and graduation rates in college. On kind of student retention, we focused very heavily on kind of creating a stress-free environment because we saw mental health is such a challenge. And also we uncovered some surprising dynamics like changing majors. Like when people change majors, this turned out to be, by some indication, the third biggest risk factor for people falling behind and eventually dropping out of college. So everything that we do has kind of this pattern behind the madness because people say, why do you only have 5 majors? Well, I tell them, like, if I had 105, by now I would have been cutting 25 or 30 like everybody else. And also, we don't want to have 100 majors because then people change majors all the time. 2 out of 3 students will change a major before they graduate, and eventually 2 out of the 3 who graduate will not work in a field related to their major. So I give this as an example of how we actually designed the whole thing. So we thought thoroughly about it. We put a lot of effort into making it simpler. And the most difficult thing, really, everything in life, most difficult thing is to simplify. And so that's how we approach all of these fundamental challenges. The same thing with affordability, such a monumental challenge. So we made the program shorter without sacrificing credits or burdening people. We also made it stunningly affordable. People say, well, how are you able to do that? And in all honesty, we're still kind of struggling, but at scale, this model is actually very feasible, and it relies on very small number of students because our approach is to differentiate and be much more cost effective, which actually enables us to be priced much lower than incumbents. And that way we can actually run a financially self-sustainable operation quite nicely. I mean, the current cost to educate a student between the publics and the nonprofit universities is $50,000 to $70,000 a year. It costs us about $10,000 to educate one student per year. And I don't believe we're sacrificing quality. I mean, we still have student support services. We actually hire faculty from tier 1 and Ivy League universities. And we do a lot of things that we just do them more efficiently and with an eye towards cost optimization and cost efficiency. And that translates into much lower cost base, and which in turn allows us to charge only $2,000 to $3,000 out of pocket per semester from the students that we serve.
Tell them like it is.
Before talking a little bit more about the operations, you talked a little bit about the majors and only having a few majors. And I noticed on the website, you talk about skill-based majors and future-proofing them. And I saw the multidisciplinary nature of those majors is not only unique, but is innovative. And I think I can see how that connects more to focusing on skills. But can you talk a little bit about how these majors are designed and what really makes them future-proof?
Great question. And it's, again, we spent a lot of time just trying to boil down some of the things that we believe are going to help empower our students to be successful long-term. Because anybody can come up and say, well, here's a micro-credential, or here's like an upskilling program that is going to get you a job in 6 months and like whatever. There's a place for that. And I don't mind when people put money and energy into these things. That's needed because there's labor shortages and all that. But when you look at the kind of the overall future positioning of students, I don't have a crystal ball, and I don't think anybody does. And I see all the research from Georgetown and from some other places about the future of work and about what jobs are going to be in demand. But there's always some uncertainty in those predictions. Plus, kind of the common denominator in all of these predictions is, I mean, these are kind of knowledge-based economy type of jobs that require not only specific skills, but require soft skills. And we hear that from employers time and time again. Like college graduates need soft skills. That's why we've designed our entire first year experience around learning teams, where people go through the core curriculum and half of their grade depends on the performance of their entire team. And we have a myriad other small design elements like that here and there. But back to your question about majors, we just wanted to have both kind of real skills in finance and accounting and statistics and kind of the humanities and what have you, but also overlay kind of this interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary lens so that people can actually be a bit of a jack of all trades. And you know, the saying goes, jack of all trades, master of none. But the full thing is, but oftentimes better than master of one. And so we believe in that approach. So giving a broad skills set to our students, also layering on top kind of an entrepreneurial attitude. We do a lot of work on resilience. The jobs of the future, who knows what they're going to be, but I can guarantee you that all of us will have to change jobs and industries and kind of will need a totally different skill set much more often than we did in the past. I mean, I'm probably a little bit of a beneficiary of something like that, because in my professional career, I have been able to kind of shift gears and industries and industry verticals and use different skill sets, which has really enriched my life tremendously. And I think our students with the majors that we have will get the skills and the kind of the capabilities to be successful no matter what the world of the future is.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
All right. You know, Stratsi, I'm listening to you and I want to go backwards because you said something like simplicity, you know, simplify everything, right? Mm-hmm. And immediately in my mind, one of my mentors and closest contacts, Dr. Bill Pepicello, host of EdUp Insights. He hosts a podcast on our network. He's the former president of the University of Phoenix, and they had almost 600,000 students when he was the president. And the advice that he's always given me and to many others that he's spoken with is do not embrace complexity, right? So simplicity is what you have to strive for in higher education, because it, by its nature, wants to be complex. And so you think about the programs that you have, the 5 majors, and there's something to be said for a small menu. You know, if you go to In-N-Out Burger in California, it's like number 1, 2, 3, or 4. There might be a secret menu, but these are the choices that you have, and people choose it, and they know what to expect. Now, the other part of that is, and I know it looks like you guys are part of the way through accreditation with middle states. Is that correct?
Very much so, and we're making tremendous progress. Kind of the system certainly hasn't been designed for innovation and new entrants, and when we're in a position to start the process, little known fact, but you cannot start it before you have actively enrolled students. So right. Talk about a chicken and egg problem.
It is ultimate.
But when we started it, we carefully selected which former regional accreditor to go with. And kind of I spoke with the presidents of several of the former regional accreditors. And we still selected to go with middle states, which traditionally has been kind of here geographically overlapping with where we are in Washington, D.C. But also they were very open to our innovations and our approach to addressing kind of some of the challenges in higher education in a very socially responsible way.
Well, I bring that up because my very good friend, Dr. Heather Perfetti, who is the president of Middle States, is very innovative and is always looking at the future. She also leads CRAC, and she's the chair of CRAC, which is the convening body of all of the regional accreditors when they get together. And boy, don't you want to be a fly on the wall in that meeting. So I'm trying very hard to be the fly. But I bring that up to say that going back to your menu, going back to this idea of simplicity, is that accreditation by its nature makes you more complex, right? There are standards, and then people's interpretation of those standards bring in more complexity, whether the faculty oversee the curriculum or own the curriculum, whether you have to have this position or that position, are you required to have this or that? So it makes you start thinking through these things. How do you see yourself managing the build out of the infrastructure while still making sure that you don't become more complex than necessary?
Great question. We have de facto done this. We've had to balance kind of the need for simplicity, and I totally agree with the observations on simplicity and the number of choices. Kind of very well-known fact from consumer behavior is that our brains can't process more than 6 options on a menu. Just the conjoint analysis doesn't really work in our brains as well as it does on computer models. In the accreditation framework, again, we work extremely hard, probably harder than other institutions, to balance that need to show and the evidence of how we meet the standards of accreditation, but also stay true to kind of our commitment to simplicity. And we do that through our continuous improvement process. We're also a very data-focused organization. So luckily, when we had to do our accreditation readiness report and kind of all of these things, I think we submitted like hundreds of pieces of evidence that went along with that. And we've just made it part of our organizational DNA. We have these continuous improvement processes. We have all the processes for everything else. So it just runs. The goal is that this actually is something that is quite easily replicable and that you can actually clone it and put it in other locations, because while our economics only work at a small scale per location, so we are de facto kind of a micro campus. Even at capacity, we will be just a few hundred students. But the goal is to actually replicate this throughout the country. And there's so many communities that need affordable education. That you can actually get to scale and have a meaningful impact just by replicating the model and having these micro campuses all over the place.
I like that.
Greg, over to you.
So, Stratsi, you had mentioned a little bit about the student services that you provide students, but again, keeping that model cost effective for them. How are you able to achieve that? Nowadays universities have, features galore, services galore, and clearly, keeping with the theme of keeping it simple. I'm sure you're keeping the services simple, but how do you keep them simple yet, still quite effective and helpful for students?
We have the full breadth of student support services. We have academic advising, we have mental health supports, and we have career coaching and support with resume building and finding jobs and internships and all that. But I would venture to say, again, we just try to do everything in small doses and regularly, which again is something that I think it's critical. Again, I would use this expression that I like to use. We're not into band-aid solutions. It's very difficult once you have a problem and you say, oh my gosh, like my students are not graduating in high enough numbers, like I'm going to throw more counselors to help. That's great, but it's a little bit too late for that already. And it will take a long time to correct. Our approach is kind of small doses frequently, and also early warning systems. So while we are 100% in person as an instructional model, we even have no devices in the classroom policy for most classes. So people actually have to take notes by hand. Just the cognition is better. Of course, if you have a computer class, you have your laptop and all that. But we also look at kind of early warning systems. When we use a lot of technology in the back office and we use a lot of technology to help us identify, we actually see on a dashboard when is the last date a student was attending class and how many classes have they missed. We keep our policies super simple so that we can communicate them to students. Our attendance policy is you miss 20% of a class session for the semester and you're at risk of failing the class. And that's easy, right? You just basically say you miss 7 classes or more, you're at risk. We don't have excused, unexcused, tardies, and all of these things to make our lives complicated. We simplify everything to the bare minimum and we stick to it, and we use kind of systems to help guide us in our decision making and in our intervention and in our support.
So you had mentioned a couple of times now, you've said that 100% of the instruction is in person, and clearly that's intentional. Moving forward, is that sort of key to the model that you're talking about that could be replicated throughout the country, or do you see ever expanding into other modalities or other ways of teaching students?
I get that question quite a bit, and kind of I'll give you somewhat of a long-winded answer, but I'll try to keep it short. So online modality is great for certain segments of the market. It's a crowded marketplace, and just from a resource-based perspective, I mean, I can't compete with the people who have billions of dollars to throw at digital marketing and student recruitment. And those behemoths are out there, and they're doing what they're doing. So that's fine. But more importantly, actually, was the question for us, what is the right product? What is the right modality? Because we are targeting a student population that is overwhelmingly first generation and low income students. And so actually 94% of our students would be Pell eligible, and most of them the maximum Pell eligible, had we kind of had the opportunity to expedite the accreditation process, but we will get there. And so for those students, it's actually kind of the national averages for online programs or even hybrid programs are not that encouraging. And so we made the difficult decision that we're going to grow the hard way, organically, and also through scaling to multiple locations, but we would focus on the in-person instruction because we want to make sure that we maintain kind of high graduation rates and that the learning outcomes for the students are there. So that's really our approach, and we are open to maybe some hybrid classes, just sporadically here and there. I mean, if we go to a location where it's difficult to source the faculty that we need for kind of for our curriculum, maybe we can leverage kind of the model with a national provider, or we can do it ourselves. But the short answer is we are kind of wedded to the in-person instructional model.
You know, Stratsi, I want to go to your 3-year degree, your 3-year bachelor's. And if I understand it right, you stretched the terms. So you really eliminate the summer break and you stretch out the terms within the new term guidelines put forth by the feds. I think a semester can go up to 21 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, on a normal standard academic year financial aid model. Is that right?
I mean, I'm super happy that you got it because many people look at us and they're like, oh, how does this work? Is this truncated? Is this something else? So we actually extended our semester slightly, not that much. We made it 18 weeks per semester, which actually gives us just enough additional contact hours and homework hours for our licensure authority here in Washington, D.C., to recognize that each of our classes is 4 credits instead of 3.
Right. So one of the quickest ways to expedite to graduation is to take out breaks. Right. It's one of the that's why the feds allow for non-standard term academic models where you're off the standard, 16 week, 14 to 16 week term, and you run 8-week terms with no breaks, and a student can complete something in however many years it takes them, whether it's a master's degree or a graduate or undergraduate degree. But with 18 weeks, it's still a little bit of a break in the middle, but because you are putting in really an additional month of instruction over the summer for each of the 4 years, it takes off an entire year of instructional time. It doesn't take off the year of instructional time. It speeds it up because the break schedule is reduced. But, right?
Yeah,
right?
it is. But we believe in breaks. I mean, remember my comments about stress-free and kind of giving people enough time to actually go through this thing. We believe in breaks. That's why we're actually not sacrificing almost anything. I mean, just our winter break is maybe a couple of days shorter, but we still have a spring break that is 10 days, and we still have a 2.5-month summer break. So we haven't really sacrificed anything. We wanted to have the summer break so that students can do internships. There's a very high correlation between people who get internships and how well they get placed in the job market after that. So we want to be sensitive to those dynamics. So we're not going to cram like year-round instruction unless it's for different cohorts that can still get a meaningful break between semesters and in the summer.
Yeah, totally.
So we've kind of had this best of all worlds model, and I'm surprised that not more people are doing it, because all the 3-year kind of applications to accreditors in the last year or two have been to kind of truncate the credits to 94 credits. Yeah. And I don't think that's the approach. I mean, that puts students at a relative disadvantage when it comes to graduate school applications. Maybe it also creates some other challenges. And I mean, who am I to say? If the world moves to a 90-degree bachelor's degree program, great. That'll be the first 2-year bachelor's degree college in the United States.
Yeah. So to everything you said, it makes so much sense, and I'm glad you brought up the 3-year 90 credit bachelor's degree, not necessarily the 3-year. But I want to get to the point and answer your question why more universities don't do this is because, and the answer is, one of the answers is, unless you're starting it from scratch. When I move my term from, let's say, 16 weeks to 21 weeks, I'm really elongating my revenue. So first of all, I'm stretching out my revenue further. So if I'm taking in Title IV and I get 100% of my Title IV at 60% of the term, I have to put way more effort into keeping my students to 12 weeks or 12 and a half weeks instead of 8 weeks, as it were, right? So
yeah, I'm not saying it's easy for the incumbents. It's
totally right. So what's special about what you're doing, and why other universities have a lot of troubles, because then you've got to amend your refund policy. You have to amend your disbursement policies and the way you offer your financial aid packaging philosophy. You have to amend, and typically schools are not good at amending anything, right? Because a committee this and this person that. Oh, by the way, we have a lot of
took the word out of my mouth.
Yeah, we got a lot of 9-month faculty. So you got to go by these 9-month faculty and say, actually, you're going to be like 10.5-month faculty, and they go, I'm not going to be that. I need my summer break, and so the entire model is built not to do what you're doing, which is why I think it makes your model so unique, because you have, whether it's from scratch or not, you figured out how to operate it and build your policies around it. So I'm laying those considerations out there for the audience to know. It's actually not that hard to conceptualize this. It's really hard to pull it off when everything is running against pulling it off, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's why I think we're in such a unique position, and I say unique in a positive sense of the word here, because a lot of people want to see reform in higher education, and a lot of people want to see a working model that is financially self-sustainable to help low-income and first-generation students. And we've designed and validated that. So basically, I'm not saying other people can't do it, but we had a multi-year head start on kind of other new entrants. And also for incumbents, as you correctly pointed out, it's going to be quite a steep, kind of a tall order to go to that. Even I would venture to say no amount of federal, state, or private money aid will ever subsidize the cost to educate a student to a point where you can actually offer it as affordably as we can. And so that's why kind of our model is, it has its place under the sun. It's definitely not the only one. I mean, I wish we had many more competitors in terms of new entrants. I mean, I talked to other people who wanted to launch new universities, and it's just incredibly difficult. I mean, we've moved mountains. We've actually been at it for almost 6 years now. We've been educating students for the last 2 years, now a third year. But it requires a lot of time, very long runway. It requires a lot of resources. It requires laser focus on the regulatory and legal stuff. And it requires a lot of discipline and a lot of faith that it's actually going to kind of scale and have the impact that we all believe it will. But again, this is one working model that we've validated, and I hope that kind of the people who listen to your podcast would also take a couple of minutes to kick the tires and see and for themselves kind of all the interesting things that we're doing.
Unfortunately, nobody listens to this podcast except for Greg.
Yeah.
Greg's the only one that listens. Greg, back over to you, because I mean, I could do this all day, especially when I could just imagine a university like the one I have worked at and the ones you work at and go, okay, we're changing this academic calendar. We're going to move it from 14 weeks or 16 weeks to 18 weeks. And let's change some policies. It would just be disruptive, to say the least.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it would take a huge amount of time to do that, which is part of what is inspiring and impressive with what you've been able to accomplish at with NewU. A question I have, and Joe, I might be taking one from you here. I hope not. With where you've gotten NewU up to this point, you talked about working on accreditation. What do you see the next 5 to 10 years being? Where do you hope NewU would be in that time frame?
This is kind of everything that we've been working on for the last 5 years to kind of get us to the next 5 to 10 years. Our vision from the very beginning was that we actually want to validate and put out there a working model for higher education reform in service to society. And so to accomplish that, we actually have to kind of put ourselves on the map, B, become much more impactful so that people start taking notice, and C, enable others to replicate it. And so we're kind of on A for now. And the next step for us in the next 5 years, we want to go from the single campus that we have in Washington, D.C. to at least 20, 30 locations throughout the country.
Outstanding.
And I think this will kind of put us on the map substantially enough so that others will start taking a closer look and maybe being open to replicate what we're doing. And it doesn't even have to be kind of large universities that do that. It could be community-based organizations, because in our experience, we actually believe we can launch a new campus in less than 12 months with all the regulatory clearance and for less than $1.5 million US. So talk about cost efficiency and speed. And so the next 10 years, we actually would like to see NewU or the model kind of being replicated through over 100 locations throughout the US. And there's no reason why not replicate it internationally. I mean, John mentioned Latin America. There's kind of everywhere you go around the world, the model is valid. Like if you have a cost-efficient cost base, and if you have disciplined processes and kind of a smooth operation, you can actually do this in any country.
It's fascinating. I mean, it's literally, it is. And my brain's like on overdrive right now because I just go back to terms. Like I think the term model is the most significant barrier to how we think about higher education, because we get so worked into this term model, and there's so many other ways, including subscription-based Title IV, that no one is really doing correctly. I think Capella uses it, but there are not many. So there's so many alternatives out there, so many ways to get this done. Stratsi, what else do you want to say about NewU University that we haven't talked about? Open mic for you. Anything that you want to let the audience know?
I mean, I will kind of turn the spotlight a little bit, not in a self-serving way, but I just wanted to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to share with your audience some of the work that we're doing. And I would encourage people to actually go to our website or reach out directly. I'm on LinkedIn, and kind of the name is pretty easy to find out on the internet. But for me, this has been a true labor of love. And it's such a meaningful project because you can see the impact and you can see the return on investment from a kind of emotional perspective. And I'm not talking about the financials. I mean, actually, the entire team and I have been working pro bono for the first several years, even to this day, to make this a reality. So it is a labor of love. It's something that actually brings a lot of people together. And it has such a huge potential that I would really hope that actually we can execute on our scaling plan in the near future, because that way we can help so many more students throughout the country. And again, if people in Congress and people in the nonprofit world and people in the for-profit world and VCs want to take a look at this, there's so many ways to grow. And there's so many opportunities. Ultimately, what we care about is just bringing the model to more students and helping so many more people actually afford their college education without student loans and without spending too much time on it.
Well, there you have it. Greg, over to you. What did you think of this conversation, and what did you think of your first co-hosting gig?
Fascinating. I think fascinating concept, and especially in the world of where so much is challenging higher ed, and to see this kind of innovative thinking. Very curious to see where NewU goes from here. As for my the first time co-hosting, what an experience. I'm hooked. I'm hooked.
Fantastic.
Well, you have an open invite to come back anytime you want. Elvin Freitas, who you know very well, is the one that does all the scheduling. So if you pester him, you'll be back.
Hey.
But I will tell you, I agree 100%. Any kind of university that is disrupting what we think of traditional, and being able to go deep into this podcast with it and be part of the conversation of unearthing these innovations to the masses is truly the biggest privilege of what it means to have done the EdUp experience and to take models and bring them to light and be able to help universities like NewU get out to the masses. And Stratsi, we're very honored that you chose to come on EdUp, and we'll communicate this far and wide, my friend, to get as many people up to date with what you're doing as possible.
Wonderful. Appreciate it. And thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've just EdUp. Higher ed leaders ready to level up your marketing and enrollment strategy? Join us at Insights EDU February 12th through 14th in New Orleans. The ultimate higher education marketing and enrollment management conference is here. Take advantage of early bird prices until December 12th. Register now at insightsedu.com. Welcome to the era of the modern learner.
Attention.
Registration is now open for the Middle States Commission on Higher Education 2024 Annual Conference, Protecting the Future, Champions for Higher Education, December 11th through 13th, 2024 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Don't miss out. Register today at mscec.org. msche.org/annual-conference, or head to msche.org and click on the conference link. I'll see you there.
Hey, everybody. This is Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the EdUp Experience. Did you enjoy that conversation? I hope you did. Did you know that you can actually hear this conversation early on and ad-free? And you can also hear extended episodes, bonus episodes, original content. That's right, original content, and invites to special events, all while helping to sustain EdUp. Did you know that? Well, if you didn't know, now you know. To become a subscriber, go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com to subscribe to our free email newsletter to learn how you can get access. Again, that's edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com.